Hello, everyone, and welcome to Weekly Manga Recap here on August the 4th of 2021.
Big
oh my
day.
god, it's August.
Do you feel like this year's going quick?
I feel like this month went kind of quick.
Okay.
But other than that, I guess it's because like it's the first month since like I was actually able to start seeing people again. So it's a little bit weird. Time starting.
You're doing a whole bunch of stuff too, probably in comparison.
Well, I mean, like it's not a lot, but it's infinitely more than I was doing for a year beforehand. So.
All right. So you feel like you got everything out then?
No.
No. You're not all done?
No, it's unfortunately, if things go back in the other direction, which it seems like they are, and it seems like they should, then there's going to be a lot of things that I didn't get.
Oh no!
But yeah, fortunately, there is one thing that has not changed, which is that we get manga every week, almost, to talk about. So that's nice.
I'm sorry, I got distracted. I have like the fucking, I got an iWatch now, and every time it fucking like you get anything, it gives you like a fucking update. And sometimes
it tases you.
Yeah, like it kind of feels like, and I'm just like, what the fuck? And then it's like, oh no, you reached your fitness goal by sitting in this goddamn chair. So I don't know.
I mean, you're burning calories by sitting up.
That's I think what happened. I reached my move goal of the day. So, I mean, I also walked like 5 miles earlier, so that probably played into it too. But
no, it was the sitting down. That was the most important part of that.
It was me sitting down and watching The Green Knight in theaters that really turned everything around.
I am planning on going to see that this weekend. So.
Very good. Visually, one of the most impressive movies I've seen in a very long time.
Cool. I really look forward to it.
Apparently, there's a post-credit scene. I didn't stay to see it.
Are they setting up the Camelot extended universe?
Yeah. I think it's just like an extra bit to the movie, but just as a heads up for you, because I know I got home. I usually go to the Wikipedia afterwards, and then I just saw like in a post-credit scene. I was like, huh. Didn't think they'd have one of those.
Well
then.
I was gonna say, it doesn't have post-credit scenes, but then I think about all those, extra chapters that get released after popular series are finished. So I guess that transition doesn't really apply.
I was gonna say there's like 7 or 8 fucking Promised Neverland one-shots if you consider extra chapters.
We have manga to talk about this week, and it's going to be a little bit weird because
we're going to be doing it in Spanish.
Sí,
pero
en esta...
Mi Hero Academia.
Not quite, but
all right, close enough. All right, got it, nailed it.
Mi héroe. Mi
héroe Academia.
I think it's just academia.
Oh, wow, all right.
Or sometimes mi colegio por héroes.
Now, you know Spanish, you know a good bit of Japanese. What about the Deutsch?
Almost none.
See, here's a pro tip. This is like a tip for everybody, even those people from Deutschland. Actually, not Deutschland. That's a different thing. Anyway, if you want to convince somebody that you know how to speak those languages, just confidently say sounds. It doesn't matter. Like, I could say, like, oh, yes, I'm very fluent in the Dutch. And then I just go in and I'm like, and then if you just leave the room before anyone can call you out on it,
it's like, what does that mean?
You did it. I probably insulted somebody's mother. I apologize for that. I'm just saying it's all about having the confidence to come into the room and do it and then get out of there.
Spoken like a true American. Okay.
That's where I fly. That's where a real American comes on and I just pose up towards a flag.
Can you imagine if that were one of the things that like Hulk Hogan did? Listen, brother, I know 27 languages, dude.
You mean Cesaro's gimmick when he first came to WWE? They were like, what do we do with this guy? I don't know. He could speak 4 languages. That's it. That's his gimmick.
I don't know. It's not getting over. What if he yodels?
What's the one thing I can think of when I think of the Swiss people, said Vince McMahon, trapping his chin for 6 hours straight. Yodeling.
They don't like successful merch sellers, so let's fire them.
Did that hurt you, Nick? Did it hurt you?
It more baffled me than anything else.
It is a confusing moment. You're just like, huh.
Sorry, we are, for those of you with a very passing knowledge of wrestling, we are recording, this is the first episode we're recording after the WWE release of Bray Wyatt, who, whenever he was on TV, was a very popular character who sold a lot of merchandise and made the company money, but...
And he's been with the company in a popular way for, I think, I'm just going basically since it became Bray Wyatt, but yeah, that would probably be coming up on like 7 or 8 years.
Yeah. And and they decided to fire him because he was making too much money from them, and they weren't using him because he's portraying a character that's best in, small doses, and they were like, well, we're not using this guy currently. We're planning on having him come back literally for the biggest show of the summer in a big way, but no.
We basically have the same thing with Alexa Bliss right now. We'll just be done with that. Just it's like that. It's like the old meme. Like, I want Bray Wyatt. Like, we have Bray Wyatt at home, and Bray Wyatt
I put that up on Twitter. Yeah. And it's and God, it's really annoying because it's so messed up in so many different ways. People thought that, like, well, maybe it was like a mutual thing because he was clearly very personally affected by the death of a friend of his who was also in the wrestling business, Brody Lee. And no, wasn't that. Purely a budget-saving measure, and he was getting ready to come back. So that's a cool bit of news to, get randomly sprung on you. And people are laying the blame at the feet of a woman who had no decision-making powers involved in it whatsoever. So let's blame her. So it's messed up all around.
It's fine. It's fine, Nick. Ronda Rousey says the fans are to blame.
Fuck her. So,
all right, let's talk about manga. We've talked about wrestling enough. And
we've talked about the Green Knight. And
yeah, we talked about everything except manga at this point. Let's talk about manga.
I don't know. We could just do a no manga episode of Weekly Manga Week.
We could. Hey, there isn't like Oban coming up sometime soon. We could just talk. That's our episode. It's Weekly Manga Recap, but we never get to the manga.
But we do have a lot of manga to talk about this week, and because we had no manga last week, we also have like a double up case going on. So I guess we should get into it. My Hero Academia is chapter 321. The title of the chapter is at the end of this one, so I can't remember what it is. It is From Class A to One for All. So we get this very stylish color 2-page spread of Class 1A as green suit wearing engineers. They look like leprechaun engineers. I don't know what the clothing choice has to do with it, but
wasn't this the same outfit they wore on one of the popularity polls though? Or very similar. Didn't they have one where they wore like this kind of teal and like orange suits or something like that?
The suits were definitely like the same. I don't know if the exact same color scheme was used. So it is weird that they're like, and now we're building an All Might Gundam.
Yeah. Which is definitely going to be used for evil. There's no way this is going to be used for good purposes.
Like how Mechagodzilla is evil and Godzilla is sometimes good.
Yeah.
Right? Last time on My Hero Academia, Class 1A basically were trying to stop Deku from running away, which essentially meant that they were fighting him. And we see that some of the people that were not involved in the last chapter, it's because they can't keep up, basically. There's Kirishima. He is the most important character not involved in this whole thing because he's kind of a slow boy. He runs at normal human speeds. So
he's like the anti-Sonic. Although I guess the anti-Sonic would be Shadow. And Kirishima does not use guts.
He's not like the anti-Sonic at all.
In fact, he's actually... What's the anti-Sonic? I guess it'd just be Sonic.
I guess it would be one of the robot shadows.
Shit.
Oh, Sonic the Hedgehog's a weird franchise. Okay, so Kirishima, along with Aoyama and Hagakure, are kind of doing cleanup involving the puppeteer villain that got taken out before this whole thing started. Endeavor also shows up on the scene, and so he's like, all right, yeah, we better make sure that everyone who ran off is safe here, and you guys, I'll hold things down here, you go join up with Hawks. And Kirishima's like, oh man, I can't keep up with everything, even though Deku's zipping around like that. There's loads more I want to say to the guy. Kirishima's like, well, I've got character bonding to do with Midoriya. It's just that I can't do it mid-action sequence. So I'll have to wait until everyone else holds him down, so that then I can bring.
I was gonna say it'll be great because the end of this chapter kind of implies the situation is dumb, but like it would be great if at like the end of it, a couple characters who didn't get to have their fill are just like, listen, man, I know we already handled this, but I wrote the whole speech, so you're gonna have to listen to it. Dear Stinky Deku, I'm tired of you being stinky and not accepting my friendship. He's like, I took a bath. I know, but I wrote this when you were still stinky, so you just gotta listen to it.
And I'm never going to let you live down how goddamn awful you smelled. I do get that, like, Aoyama and Deku, they became friends during that little thing. So Aoyama, he's got stuff to say to Deku too. Hagakure, does she ever talk to anyone?
Well, you never know because you can't see her. Yeah,
that's a good point. Maybe she was present for all these important.
She might have been in every scene. She's just been naked at them for some reason.
So
does it ever fuck with your mind to think that they made a costume for Mirio that was specifically made to work with his power made out of his hair, but they can't do that for Hagakure? Like, sorry, you have to be naked.
Nicole's made literally the exact same objection. So you're not alone in how messed up it is that, of course, the girl's the one who's going around naked all the time. Yeah. So we catch up with what's going on with Deku in Class 1A. As it's Todoroki's turn to start lecturing him now that he's kind of stuck in the giant wave, wall of ice that he's got there. And he points out, very briefly, like, hey, there's a lot of problems with this plan of yours. If you're running around like this, maybe that's what All for One wants. And hey, maybe while you're distracted running around like an idiot, he'll attack UA. And look at the way you're running yourself ragged. So at least consider this as an option. Let us protect you. Let UA protect you the same way you want to protect it. That's an option. Let us help you. And Deku's like, no, the voices in my head said it was my turn, so I can't do that. I'm glad that we are all supposed to know that Deku's not in his right mind, because he's very clearly not when you put it like that. And he also argues that this is a battle between One for All and All for One, and you guys can't keep up. Which, okay. So Tsuyu tries to jump in from there as Deku, I guess, just launches himself out of the wave of ice. He's got super strength and speed, sure, why not? But Mineta actually is the one to get in next, as Tsuyu looks like she's going to wrap him up with her tongue, but actually she's throwing Mineta towards him, and he kind of latches on with a bundle of his sticky balls to kind of rope himself on there. And he says to Deku that, I never thought it was your power that made you awesome. I fell for you when you were scared and sweating buckets and quaking in your boots back when we found a path forward together. Which is referencing all the way back to, like, God, I think it was like basically when we started covering My Hero Academia, when the villains attacked during the test in the League.
That was when we did the recommendation. When we actually came into it, it was like in the middle of the school festival.
Right. So, but yeah, that's going back to like chapter 20 or something like that. Yeah, Mineta. That was how Mineta and Deku first had a little bit of bonding was because they were separated from everyone else along with Suyu, and they worked together to get out of that situation. However, that's not the most important tidbit of information that a lot of people took from this exchange.
All right, yeah, let's get into it.
We have to talk about this, even though I do not agree with it whatsoever. Mineta uses the words, "I fell for you." And according to some people's analysis of the original Japanese, that connotations that go along with that exact phrase are similar to what is used in the original Japanese, and I don't know enough about it myself to be able to make that value judgment by myself. So people are going, does this mean Mineta's bi if he's saying that he fell for Deku? Probably not. I think that he is being Mineta, and he's being a weirdo who talks weird.
It's insane.
It would, but people are really reading into this a lot. And I just want to acknowledge that, and I want to say I think people are reading a little bit too much into it. I'm not going to completely shut the door on the idea of being bisexual, but I do think that it is a little bit odd that people have been going like, we do want more, like LGBTQ representation in shonen manga in general. Is Mineta really the best one that we're going to get for a mainline series? Probably not. So I literally just have to acknowledge that is the response that a lot of people had to this. It's not the response that I had. So
yeah, I know it's. I mean this in the nicest way, because I always hear about people saying like, "Oh, My Hero spoilers are trending on Twitter or whatever." I legitimately do not get them. So in my mind, I always just assume like, "Oh, you guys have like some weird Twitter thing going on or something like that." But I don't follow it, so I only heard about this after the fact. In my mind, I'm just like, I thought it was a joke, but I guess some people really got into the idea. Like, that's what this is about. And look, I'm not saying the character couldn't be. I'm just saying it would be such a left turn that if it was in the middle of a chapter that wasn't even about him, then it would be insane. Also, there are a lot of complicated feelings that would come out of that character as well.
The most sexually harassy character in the entire series is also there's problems with that.
Yeah, I legitimately just assumed it was a joke for the most part, but then I heard people were seriously having a conversation, a discourse about it, which I'm like, sure, I guess, but I would prefer that conversation be about to something with real legs to it as opposed to just like, I don't know, I just read the line that way.
Yeah, but there was a big reaction to this online, and a very, very, people actually took notice of this, and I just wanted to acknowledge that. So
yeah.
All right. Anyway, the possibly bi Mineta gets thrust away by Black Whip as Deku keeps on trying to make his escape, and he's like, "All right, I'm just going to just gun it and get out of here." And he is like, "Okay, I'm going to use Black Whip to slingshot myself. I'm going to use One for All at 45%, and I'm going to use Fajin to concentrate, and I'm just going to gun it and get out of here." Uraraka calls out to Deku as he's getting ready to launch himself, and she's, Deku's thinking back to when Uraraka was talking about how Bakugo would probably be ashamed if people were to rescue him back with the League of Villains had him captured, but she's just shouting out to Deku that things are different now, including me, and the reason that this gets referenced is because they do a variation of the same thing that they did back during the League of Villains capturing Bakugo. They bailed an ice ramp, and they get ready to launch somebody, and we see that a whole bunch of people are gathered at the bottom. Ashido is giving protective coating to it so that, when the thing gets launched, it won't be horrible. And it looks like, and it's kind of hard to tell because things are really crammed into a few panels, it looks like Bakugo and Todoroki work together with Mina's protective coating to launch a huge blast, and Uraraka also launches Bakugo up with her zero gravity as this is launching, and so Bakugo is being launched up into the air, And then there is a second wave to this as Bakugo blasts with his explosion ability, and this launches Ida. And while all this is going on, people are basically narrating, there's a lot we wanted to talk to you about, but words don't reach you right now. And the thing is, we don't need you to be protecting us. We don't want you to reject who you are and what you're doing. We just want to be with you. And even Bakugo is thinking to himself, I've got a lot I want to say. No, a ton I got to say. I mean, all right. Slightly more, I guess. But for now, I'm passing the mic to a guy built for speed. And holy
Sonic the Hedgehog!
Sonic, he can really, I don't know. So, I will say, it's very nice that for once, Ida, whose entire thing is that he goes fast, is actually being allowed to go the fastest for like the first time in a long time. And even because he's got, he's got Todoroki and Bakugo doing these multiple layered boosts on him, and even he, with all of his "I'm used to going fast," his lips are dragging behind him and stuff.
His glasses break from the pressure.
Yeah, it's awesome. And he thinks to himself, "You've always managed to outpace me. That's precisely why I am always ready to challenge you." And he launched himself even faster with Recipro Burst, and he thinks to himself something that his brother told him, which is if there's anything that could bolster Izuku Midoriya right now, it will be those who share his resolve and those who can match his pace. I think that's his brother. I can't think of who else that would be. So, and yeah, he launched himself so fast.
Isn't that one of the One for All people?
No. Yeah, so... See, I can't remember those guys. There's too many of them.
I was going to say, didn't...
that's the conversation they had. You're right. So.
I was going to say, isn't Ida...
That doesn't look like Ida at all. Why
I was going to say, doesn't Ida's brother look like Ida?
Yeah, it does. So, good job, Nick. Well, I've had much worse calls on this show. So, Ida catches up to Deku. He goes so goddamn fast that he actually outpaces Deku's super fast "I'm gonna get out of here" ability, and he grabs onto Deku's hand as he is shooting by him. And while he's grabbing onto his hand, we actually finally get the chapter title. And Deku's like, "No! You've got to go away! No!" But he's been waiting for this. He's like, "I'm finally got my spotlight moment. I've got a speech ready for this." And he says, "Ingenium the hero will dash across the land to take a lost child by the hand, because giving help that's not asked for is what makes a true hero." And he's tearing up, and Deku's tearing up, which I do like, because you can argue that it's because they're both going so goddamn fast that it's messing with their eyes, but also it's an emotional moment. So there's that going on.
Yeah.
So if that's not the conclusion to this, I don't know what the fuck can be, because it's the big, sequence of everyone working together, and hey, Ida just caught up to Deku. He proved exactly that Deku is wrong. They can't keep up with him in a very literal sense. So hopefully that's the end. So
it would make sense if this is the end. Now that said, the first time I read this chapter, I couldn't get into it. I wanted to in every way I could, but I just, for whatever reason, I was just like, I'm just not digging it. This time through, though, it did work, and I'm glad. I agree with you. It's nice Ida is the one to get this moment. I've heard people say that this is a moment you could appreciate a lot more if you are heavily invested in the series, because I guess the line Ida has about, a challenge is something he said during the whatchamacallit, the school games or something like that. So, and I think some of that is just kind of connected to that as well. So I don't remember all those moments. So some of the little touches I think in this scene are kind of lost on me. But I do really appreciate that it's not Bakugo or Uraraka or even Todoroki, these characters who have kind of had their big moments before, but Ida, who has sort of the big moment here at the end. It's a very cool sentiment and moment. I really dig it.
It's also cool because there's the additional layer of it's Class 1A reaching out to Deku to try and convince him to do this, and Ida is the president of Class 1A, so he is their representative in this moment. So, but yeah, Ida's really not gotten a lot of moments to shine. I think that the last thing he really did was he went really fast during the Class 1A versus 1B fight, and that ended in a tie. So
he has to go really fast. So I understand. Sonic, etc., things like that.
Yes, he can really move. That was it. So
Sonic, he's full of attitude. I don't think that's how the song goes, but I'm still gonna
Sonic really likes to eat food.
Sonic, he's the fastest something around. All right.
It's a lot less emphatic when he's the fastest.
Something hedgehog. All right.
Very, very briefly, there was also a My Hero Academia one-shot. It is to promote the third My Hero Academia movie. Nothing happens in it. There is a practice bout that allegedly takes place when Bakugo and Todoroki and Deku were training with Endeavor. And then they kind of have a kind of cute scene at the very, very end where they're designing stealth costumes, and Deku's upset because he can't have a cape. And that's literally it. That's the entire thing. It tells us nothing about what's going to happen in the movie. So
there you go. Set up for a fun new movie. Let's talk, Nick, about Undead Unluck. This is number 73. Bring it on. So, of course, it is a chapter all about high school cheerleading and the rivalries that can come as a result of it.
Yeah, backflips.
Actually, no, it's not about that at all. We actually pick up last time where Fuku escaped, I don't remember its real name, I think Kane or something like that, but I'm just going to call it Shamu. Got into the air and told about the date of the spring raid. So, boom, that's what's happened. She tells everybody, hey, the raid date is December 24th. Their hideout is inside the Orca Ume's belly. You won't be able to track it. We don't have a member on a certain people. Like, we don't know. There's one man we don't know his ability. Also a restrainer type girl and an old lady who looks like a sword fighter named Usai. And she says like, that's all I know. I'm sorry. And Andy's like, what are you talking about? That's great. And they start to explain, hey, so spring changes people into cherry trees. Now kind of explaining why it's an actual danger for him around, because otherwise it just seemed like he was getting drunk chilling out on top of a building or a tower. They say if you touch any of the petals wafting through the air...
What are you talking about? Look, that man just turned into a cherry blossom tree. There's nothing unusual going on here.
Nope, that's all fine. Basically, it's a JoJo stand. If you touch any of the petals wafting through the air, you'll turn into a cherry tree as well. So Andy says, you need to make contact with Usai. Her ability can stop the petals from falling from the trees. I like this little foreshadowing as to what her powers will be. Mm-hmm. So they're like, look, we have to befriend her to reach spring, because as it is, we won't be able to otherwise. Andy says, hey, drop my name and she should cooperate with you. So thus fulfilling the notion everyone had where they're like, I think that's the name of the same person, or design rather, the same person who taught Andy sword techniques a while ago.
Right.
So Andy just says, yep, friend is an understatement. More like an ex-girlfriend. And that's like a moment that Fuku gets kind of like awkward about. And then they all just like, what's his name? Nico and Tatiana basically just start beating up Andy for being like, why would you do that? Why would you bring up that it was your ex?
I love the expressions that Tatiana's shell makes in these comedic moments where she gets the squinty, angry eye on her viewing screen.
Oh, that's not Nico. It's whatever the kid that works with Nico.
Right.
Also, Skimoto has a great point. Drop my name, and it's like, wait, yeah, she did name Andy. What was his name beforehand? Basically, that's the end of the conversation they have. It ends with Billy grabbing the communicator and saying, not bad, not bad. But hey, she's not getting out anymore, so give up on trying to recover her. I'm going to make her kill Spring. I can't steal her power, so I'll just have to use it.
He also basically says, I know that she's communicated to you all this other stuff, so I guess that I'll just repeat all of it just in case she didn't.
Yeah.
It's like, what if she hadn't said all that stuff and he just gave everything away?
That'd be pretty funny. Andy just basically gives like the comeback of like, we're gonna take her back on that day. After all, she just gave us the skinny on your forces. And he's like, who cares? It's not like a game of amateurs are going to be able to do it. If you get in our way, your lives are over. And he just says, sick, bring it on. And that's how they cut the call. So we finish the rest of the chapter off with the union group who have gathered. And Andy basically just says, yep, I heard word from Under. This is their detail. On December 24th, they're going to bring all of their fighters to make sure we don't take Fuko back. He says, I can guess who the fighting types are. Guard duty will be 5 or 6 people. Tella, Billy's aide, Rip, Unrepair, Creed, the guy we fought back on the boat. And I'm positive the ones who will be keeping close to Fuko will be Billy and Yusai. And I can't make it to her all on my own, so I'm asking you guys to put your lives in my hands. And Tatiana punches Andy in the back of the head really hard.
Yeah, he's dead now.
Yeah, he's done.
I know he can't die, but he's dead.
And she just says, wait, were you planning to do this alone? Alone? Fuck you. Like, I may not be undead like you, but if it's for my friend, I don't mind risking my life. And they have a little bit of a tension about all this, but essentially the same thing as everybody's like, yeah, we're on this side now. We're willing to work together. Shui, I suppose, shows up and is just like, you could say that they're more dangerous than any UMA we've ever encountered, which is why I assume he asked us to reaffirm, because this is a more dangerous mission than any we've ever been on before.
She's got her artificial arm attached now, too.
She's got it all attached. So Andy just says, thanks to that info, we have thanks to the info, we have intel on them. And he's like, no more negotiations. Oops, sorry, hold on a second. No more complicated negotiations. We're gonna spring at them and settle the score.
Very cool 2-page spread to close things out here.
Yep.
The showdown kind of quality. And Spring in the middle of it, just looking cocky, which is great.
Yeah, he knows no one.
You're gonna try and kill me? Okay.
I'm actually trying to look at this 2-page spread more because it gives. Yeah, he's there in the very back.
Are you trying to find?
I was trying to find Unburn, what everybody kind of thinks might be Unburn, the guy with the visor.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Good chapter.
Nice chapter. What's next?
Kaiju number 8 would be next.
Is it?
Yep.
Hang on a second.
There was a Kaiju number 8.
There was. Okay. I think I just forgot to open it up. Hang on.
It was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's been a weird kind of freaking. Where is it? There it is. Okay. Oh, geez. Oh, right. There's also that. Okay. Oh, there's more manga to talk about this week than I. All right, let's keep going. Kaiju number 8, chapter 40. Last time, after Kikoru had joined the first squad, she was also introduced to Gen Narumi, who demonstrated his abilities and said that, he doesn't care about protocol or anything like that. He just wants Kikoru to prove that she is strong. We then get, more of Gen just being his weird self. There is a huge article about Captain Ashiro having gone missing, and then there's a tiny little thing about Gen Narumi and company, taking care of the problems at the coast, and he's really, really annoyed about this. He's like, wait a minute, this makes it sound like Ashiro beat the kaiju. This is bullshit. And he's like directly complaining to Shinomiya, who has gone right back to being unimpressed with him. So it's gonna be, whenever he's in action, he's gonna be like, oh, he's so awesome. And whenever he's not, she's just gonna be disgusted with his entire existence.
As she should be. He's pretty lame.
He's even freaking out over people talking about it on social media.
Yeah, it's again, it is so very strange. There's no one else in the series that's so weird and kooky like this. And then there's this one dude who's like, I'm an Uber nerd who constantly checks to see if I'm trending on Twitter, basically.
He's self-searching, and he's replying to people in the trend and getting annoyed at them for talking about Ashiro, and people are like, wow, this guy's a real lame asshole. And yeah, he kind of is when he acts like this. So and then he's like, oh yeah, there's some boring meeting going on, and I don't want to waste time on that. And his vice captain comes in and kicks him off his chair. He's like, it's your job to go to the meeting, go to it. And then he drags him out and saying that the meeting is going to be about Kaiju number 8. whom we now cut to as Kafka is doing push-ups in isolation. He's thinking about what Isao Shinomiya told him, which is that he needs to demonstrate his usefulness. Otherwise, he's going to, be converted into a weapon. So he's just like, all right, I'm going to do it. I will do whatever needs to be done. It's not just for me. It'll also be for my friends who believe in me and are waiting for me. Yeah. And a bunch of people come into his cell, asking for him to come with them. He is brought into a room along with Gen Narumi and Shinomiya and Gen's vice captain. And he's like, what's going on? This is the first division captain. Why is he here? And they're all standing in front of Isao, who tells them that Kafka is being placed in the first division because their goal is to create a division powerful enough to topple any and all cataclysms. He says, I'm giving you a chance to show your strength and use this next neutralization as an opportunity to convince everyone of your abilities. So Kafka is like, I don't like that he's still kind of treating me as Kaiju number 8, but okay. And he's like, yes, I'll do it. And immediately Narumi just speaks up and cuts him off and says, nah, I decline. And
story's over. We're done.
Yeah.
That was it.
And the last panel is as Kafka being carved up like a turkey. Yeah. And Narumi goes right back to being a disrespectful dickhead. He says, yeah, it's fine if I'm the only one here. We don't need this guy. Bye. But Isao refused to let him leave. And he points out the problems that they're having right now. Number 9 is still in disguise somewhere, and number 10 led like this big coordinated attack on the 3rd Division base. So these are clearly different from any other kaiju we've encountered in the past, and we have made strides day by day to overcome numerous kaiju cataclysms, but the kaiju continue to undergo unknown evolutions. With major cataclysms, when arrogance tells you have everything under control, they occur in a way that flips your perceptions on their head. We must also come to evolve. Just very pragmatic.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. Narumi, of course, doesn't like this. And while he's staring down Kafka, he says, oh, come on. Do you have that little faith in me, Mr. Isao? When it comes to number 8, converting him to a weapon for me to use would be the most effective solution. He's staring at the guy that he says, yeah, turn this guy into a weapon and let me swing him around like a hammer. So
he's not a nice dude. He's all business.
Isao starts to say something to Narumi, but before he can, Kafka says, Captain, I can't die just yet. There is still something I must do. Something I need to accomplish first. He's thinking about childhood memories with Mina. The thing that we still need to see more of in order to care about it.
One day we're going to.
One day. But Kafka basically is like, yes, I accept this, and he salutes and declares himself Kafka Hibino, ready to serve the 1st Division. And of course, Narumi just kind of repeats what he said earlier to Shinomiya, saying, look, I don't care about your emotions. I don't care about your situation. I don't care if you're showing grit. Just show me skills and results. And if you happen to go berserk again, I'll dispose of you quickly and make you into my suit. Because he's an asshole. So, but Kafka puts on a good front, and he's just like, thank you, sir, and salutes again as Narumi walks out. And we are given episode 5 of the Kaiju number 8 saga, beginning with its episode 5 title, The Kaiju Weapon.
I don't particularly care about this new character, so the idea that he's going to be heavily kind of revolved around this is a thing that I'm not super jazzed about. I'm not like angry about it or anything like that. I don't have a ton of interest in that character.
Yeah. I guess it's nice to know that he is an asshole. About it. And I guess it's good to know why we have been introduced to this character, is because he is essentially the next antagonist that Kafka's got to deal with as he's doing through this. He's conquered Isao by proving himself to him, but now he's got to go through this guy too.
Yeah.
So on to Spy Family.
For the 7-page, I guess this one's like a regular length chapter. It just feels short.
Yeah. We have a very brief aside to begin with Frankie, who has been tasked with looking after Bond while the family is away. Nice to have that detail. He is annoyed with Bond at first. He starts like berating him and stuff while he's walking him through the park. And then there's a cute girl who's got her own little dog. And so, hey, guy has a dog, introduced to a girl with a dog. And Frankie is much more happy with Bond, being in his care all of a sudden. Imagine that. So anyway, moving on from that, it was really weird opening to the chapter, but moving on. Lloyd is gazing out over the horizon on the yacht, and he's thinking over how he's got all these different skills to treat him well in his career as a spy. He's honed them all. He knows how to be calm and collected in any situation, but he has no idea how to deal with Anya. He's not a good father, and he's just says to himself, I'm not the perfect spy I thought I was. There are still things in this world I do not understand, and I must not be overconfident in my knowledge and experience. The unknown is what scares humans the most, and I'm a spy. However, I do not fear the unknown. But I do fear it, I guess, but I can Listen, I am not used to these feelings of lack of preparation. Being a super spy doesn't prepare you for being a father, I guess, has been the point of this entire series, and I'm only just now learning that 50 chapters in. Meanwhile, Anya's sleeping.
Yeah, there's real difference in attitudes.
However, the two also start out on their day. We see that the director is meeting with the two suits that they met with before that don't know anything about the situation. They're like, "Oh, I guess we're not going to be entertaining the Greys anymore about what our the campaign we're going to run and everything." And he's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's not your fault. I will attend to them personally. You two just take the day off and enjoy yourselves." And they're like, "Oh, okay." So it's a loose end that got wrapped up. Fine. Anya is starting her day. And she's like, it's adventure time! And she's got her own theme song. Good for her. And Lloyd, of course, is thinking, like, what do I do? I need to figure out something in order to do with her. But Anya, of course, is just thinking, like, I need to do something to help out Mama. But I can't just be as direct as saying to Papa that she's in trouble, because how would she know about this? And then he'll freak out and he'll abandon me, of course. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So she's like, I have to find a way to ditch Papa for a while. And she's like, look, they've got goof putting. Golf putting. This is something that adults like. And while Papa's busy playing golf, I'll slip away. Lloyd's too good at golf.
It makes sense. He was great at tennis. Why wouldn't he be great at golf?
So Anya gets distracted because Lloyd recommends she try the game. And so she gets distracted and doesn't go and try and find Yor. Then they eat, and they're like, oh, I know. Papa loves knowing things. I'll bet he'll get distracted if we go to the library. She gets distracted by manga.
I do like it. He's like, I've already read every book. And she's just like, teehee, manga. Oh, wait, shit, I fucked up.
And then she's like, I know. If you help me to solve this puzzle, then he'll get distracted. And Lloyd solves it in his head. And she's like, all right, well, what if we go skating? And she gets distracted from skating. Oh, well, let's go to a magic show. She gets distracted by the magic show. And it gets to be dinner time. The entire day has passed, and she has not once managed to distract Lloyd with something and slip away. However, she's also really angry, and her angry expression Lloyd is really concerned about, because she's like, I thought we were having fun all day. What happened? But then Anya finally realizes, like, oh, am I making Papa worry about me? And she's like, no, I'm enjoying my adventure, but I wish Mama could be with us. I always like it the best when I can be with the both of you. And she's like, I've got to go find Mama. Maybe this will let me go and find her by myself without him. But instead, Lloyd's like, oh, of course you want your family. You're a small child who loves your parents and stuff. But she says, we could ask Yor if she has time home sometime tomorrow. And she says, like, I don't know where she is right now, but we can send her a message through the concierge, and then maybe we could arrange a meeting tomorrow. Oh, also, there's going to be fireworks after dinner, and maybe Yor's group will be watching the fireworks too. Maybe we can go and find them. And Yor's like, Anya's like, fireworks. So the director gets in touch with Yor's group. who reports your reports to the others that they've gotten an already signal from the ship, the rendezvous. She says, though we're to meet 4 hours from now, we need to get ready. Our biggest problem is that the enemy has the deck under tight surveillance. We'll need to head elsewhere when we leave the room. She has everyone don new disguises and heads out. The listener surveillance guy among the assassins says that he has intercepted a coded transmission. Not sure what it says. It's on a different frequency than the secret police's line. And so they pass that information on to the rest of the team. And the coordinator says, tell everyone to get them into stage 3 positions for the ambush. So pieces are moving. Lloyd and Anya are going to be going to where everyone else is. So what's going to happen?
They're going to go where the people are. Something. I don't know. I was trying to think of the Little Mermaid song.
I want to be where the spy people are.
Yeah.
Want to see them assassinating.
Yeah, it's fine. This is a fun chapter. It's a pretty short one. It almost kind of just like an intermediary chapter between what we got in the last couple weeks, but it was still fun. I do enjoy the comedy of Anya trying to think of all these things that could distract Lloyd, and every single one of them she either ends up being more enjoyed of or he just solves immediately.
Yeah. I mean, she is 6, so it makes sense that she would be distracted so easily.
Yeah.
All right. Chris, I need you to take
Me.
the reins as we go through this next bit.
I'm reading World Trigger?
All right. Fuck. I was doing Eden Zero first.
No, we'll have a couple Eden Zero chapters. But Nick, we have to find out the responses to the essay question.
Well, some of this is actually kind of interesting, but it's going to be shorter than last time because we only have one chapter of World Trigger this week. The Away Mission Test, Part 9. So Suba turns around the results and lets everyone see that his squad is in last place. And immediately Osamu looks at Katori to see if she's going to blow up. And she has a moment where she looks like she's going to, but she takes a deep breath. It's like, okay, it's all Four Eyes' fault, but it's fine. If he picks up his pace and pulls his weight, we'll be fine. And then they basically just start, making meal preparations, and they basically confirm that instead of, helping with meal preparation in either the evening or the morning, that Osamu's going to be working on his test. So, then we cut over to Utagawa's squad. They are in 3rd from the bottom. That is the squad that has Yuma on it, and immediately, I forget which guy this is, but he's like, yeah, this is Yuma's fault because he kept on interrupting Shiki over every little thing. And we see a little highlight of this, which is where he went, hi, how do you read this? Which is great. So they kind of start to turn on each other a little bit. But Utagawa is just like, okay, listen, we're going to change things up a little bit. We're going to change our approach. So Kuga, if you have more questions tomorrow, come to me. Kotaro, you go to Shiki if you need some help. And Shiki is a little bit put off by this because, of course, she's not good with boys. So then Utagawa looks over at Yuma and he's thinking like, what's their cover story for his Raised Abroad thing? I should have checked about that ahead of time. Oh, well. Then we go to Wakamura's squad, and he's like, I guess we're 2nd from last. That sucks. But he also is like, Yoko's squad is in last. What's going on over there? They talk about that, and Hughes really talks a lot during this exchange. Yes. And he just brings up, yeah, I mean, I fell behind on my assignments, and Maori was helping me, so she fell behind too, so this isn't really all that shocking. One of the other guys on the team brings up like, is your squad going to be okay? Because all you guys are in the bottom 3. I mean, all you guys, Chica's the one exception. But Hughes is like, it's not a problem. You and I will make up for it during the battle phase. It's fine. And for Osamu, it's probably that he ran out of Tryon or the operator ran out of Tryon. And so that's why they ran out of time to complete assignments. And that's it. He'll be fine if he's mindful about that going forward. So then they bring up, well, doesn't this mean that we should actually be in last place if we went by how the actual scores of the assignments are? That sucks even more. And Hughes says, well, if the universal assignments are what are dragging us down, I have a proposal. You guys do all the work.
It really is like that. He's like, just share it. Everyone do what they're good at. I'm good at nothing, so I'll just grab all the answers.
I'll be over here eating the food. But he says, yeah, everyone divide up the assignments based off of the subject that you're best at, and then everyone share the information with everyone else. And they bring up, like, isn't that like cheating? There's cameras watching us. That's sharing information. But Hughes brings up, like, when Mallory was reading me the questions, I gave verbal responses, and nothing was preventing you all from overhearing that. So if passing notes around and copying is breaking the rules, then listening to my answers earlier today, that's also a rules violation. But we still received full credit for the work. So people were like, wait, so they don't care if we share answers? It's like, I mean, given the way that things have unfolded here, I don't think that they would. And Wakamura brings up, well, then what's the point of the test? Aren't they trying to gauge our skills and abilities as individuals? And Hughes says, solving these problems the traditional way is hardly a decent measure of our skills. On a real mission, we would need to adapt. We'd have to solve issues that come up on the fly as quickly and efficiently as possible. So, yeah, I mean, it's one of those kind of things. I've been watching this British show recently called Taskmaster, where...
Not about the Marvel villain. Who they fucking... It's like, they did not get it right in Black Widow. So I feel bad.
Taskmaster is basically like these comedians mostly are presented with these bizarre tasks to accomplish. And if you approach them with the most straightforward method, generally you're not going to do as well as someone who thinks outside the box and approaches things from, an inventive perspective. And that's kind of the thing that seems to be going on with this test as a whole. It's not testing them in the way that they think that they're being tested, and part of the test is to figure out how they're being tested so that they can do it most effectively. And Hughes appears to have caught on to a way to accomplish that. However, everyone agrees that this seems like it could be a good idea from Hughes, but they all turn to Wakamura to make the final decision on if they're going to do this. And Wakamura's like, why do I have to decide? Oh, I guess I'm the captain, but... But he says that he'll make his decision in the morning, and to give him time for that. Then we go over to Nina Mia's squad, and they're like, okay, it's time for food today. And
now it's 6 straight pages of how different groups prepare food.
Yeah. Asuma's like, all right, I'll start with the basic stir fry. Does that sound good? And Nina Mia's like, I don't care. I ingest food through osmosis.
I fucking... He's such a fucking specific little dork in that he's like, hey, everyone want food? He's like, I don't care what the food is. It doesn't help me get to my goals and shoot people more. Like it's...
And there's this very adorable little moment because Chica approaches Asuma and she's like, could you use this? And she's got this big tote bag with her and opens it up. And there's this wrapped up block of rice in the bag. And Asuma's like, this is the personal item you brought? And she just says, I really like rice.
I do like it. Her personal item was rice.
So cute. And Asuma's like, well, I guess that I'm making extra rice then. And then Nina Mia just like thinks aloud for no reason. Oh yeah, I guess that she only ate rice when we got yakiniku. And Yuzuru's like, wait, you got yakiniku together? It's my favorite part of the whole chapter. Just this 1-2-page sequence. And then we go to Kakizaki's squad, and they're talking about food, and nothing as important is said.
Nothing that's relevant.
Nothing important is said.
Like the next 3 pages are basically just like, who does cooking for the various groups?
We go to Kodera's squad, and Okudera and Rokuta are making food together, while everyone else like watches them like creeps. But then Kodera thinks of something as he's looking at the scoring breakdown for his squad, and he's specifically looking at the way that they have been evaluated on things, and it's hard to tell exactly what he is making note of here, the only thing that we see is that Kitora was scored very well, and the other three were all approximately in the same range. And so he looks at this and he decides to call up Suwa on his phone, and he's like, "Yeah, I need to ask you something." And that's where we end the chapter, is with Suwa answering his phone like, "What do you need to know?" It's such a weird way to end it.
That definitely, it definitely feels like there was supposed to be a second chapter.
I have no idea what he is going to ask about, because there doesn't. I mean, he's obviously concerned about the scores in some form, but why has he got to call Suwa about it? I have no idea. So I guess we'll find out next month.
Oh, let me think. Who else is in there? Is Okudera part of his squad?
Okudera is part of Kodera's squad.
No, I mean
Okudera is part.
I mean, who's a member of Suwa's squad? Like, who would he be called?
I believe that Okudera is part of Ozma's squad, right?
I thought Ozma's squad was a couple younger guys. Maybe I'm wrong.
Suwa's squad consists of Suwa himself, Daichi Tsutsumi, and Sasamori.
So none of the people here. So he must be calling either to I don't know. I honestly I can't think who he's contacting.
No clue. So.
This is a fun chapter. This is a frustrating chapter because I would like just a little bit more. Please. So I don't really know what to say beyond it was good. I don't know if we needed 5 pages explaining who's making breakfast into different groups, but we got it. So I guarantee that did make some people very happy.
Yes. So yeah. There were a couple of really good bits. I do like the way that Hughes broke it down. It was just like, let's just do this in a much more efficient manner, because it seems like that kind of stuff is more impressive to me than any other means of approaching the test we've seen so far. Because it was cool to see everyone kind of theorizing about why they're in this example, but it hasn't actually helped them to differentiate the way that they're approaching it yet. So it's like, do something different is a good idea at this point.
I'm waiting for the scene where they're in a Tofkator and they're just like, we need somebody to cook or else we're going to die. And they're just like, fucking Azuma, you cooked breakfast on the first day of the trial exam. You can do it, or something like that. Chica's favorite food is always rice. Get her food. Get her back.
Cuisine.
All right, let's talk about Eden Zero, Nick, because we have 2 chapters to talk about, and it's packed full of content.
Kind of
packed. So we start with chapter 153, the False Five. We see that Rebecca is in a bad spot. She's down to just her leotard. She's about to lose. So she even went back in time and tried to figure it out and still lost. So we get a big color page of all the characters in kind of a chibi-fied form. There's the crew of the Eden Zero and Couch Pose there. So I guess she's really going to be sticking around.
Yes.
So Lyra's basically just like, all right, well, this is going to be the last round before you bear it all. And Rebecca starts realizing, hey, something's up. She's cheating. But how can I do this? What can I possibly do here? And they pick their cards. It's a 1. Lyra has a 5. Boom. That's it. Rebecca loses her leotard. Everyone starts cheering. So she goes back in time. And it's right before she was about to bear it all. So she hits the table and kind of falls to the ground, seemingly out of exhaustion. And they're like, that's not going to get you out of this. You have to play this last round.
You have to get your clothes off.
And Rebecca's eye is even starting to bleed, which is the sign that was her last reverse. She can't do it anymore. Right. So it's time to put her cards down. And Rebecca's like, hey, you're cheating. Lyra's like, what are you talking about? Like, do you have proof that I'm cheating? Rebecca's like, no. So she puts her cards on the table and she stacks her cards exactly how Lyra did originally, where the 4 cards are kind of all on top of each other and then the card she picked is separate. So they're like, oh, wow, is she going to pick that card or not? And Lyra just says to herself, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to use my ether gear to change the card's number anyway. It doesn't matter, she could do this 100 times. I'm always going to win.
Mm-hmm.
So Rebecca just says, Rebecca doesn't pick a card. She's just like, I don't need to. I already know it's going to be a 1. And Lyra's like, yeah, with my power, it's going to. But she is like, if you don't show us a card, then you're going to lose. And she's like, hey, I knew you were cheating. And Lyra's like, oh, come on. If you're going to say I'm cheating, then you got to prove it. And Rebecca, like fucking Ace Attorney, reaches into her fucking chest and pulls out the 5. And she's like, because I never put a 5 on the table, see? So how did you have a 5? Yeah, it's a big dramatic. It's just like, wait, why does that happen? So she spreads out all of the cards. She realizes it's not 4, 5, or 4 cards placed face down. It's 3 cards, and one of them's ripped up. So she figured this all out. And she's like, oh, you did that back when you fell for the table, didn't you? So yeah, it's a big like Phoenix Wright moment until eventually Lyra's just like, I'm just gonna kill you now. And then Shiki's fight with Callum interrupts into this. And then it looks like there's going to be a fight, but then Jin and Klin show up and they're just like, you guys go, we'll handle this. And I saw that moment happen and I couldn't think of anything else. It's like, what the fuck was the point of these past 3 chapters and this stupid card game besides being really fucking horny?
Oh, well, I mean, up until you said that, I had an answer ready to go, but then you said other than that, okay, so I will say the thing that Rebecca does to expose the cheat is actually something that I like. I do like that she was clever in the way that she tricked Lyra into exposing that she was cheating. The fact she put the card between her boobs is very unnecessary.
No, that was the most necessary part of all of this.
But I'm sure that many people will...
Well, where else was she going to put the Nick? She has no pockets anymore. So she has to use nature's pocket, which is usually the vagina, but in this case, it was the boobs.
I have heard that storing stuff in things that support your breast is actually a very good place to stow things sometimes. So fair enough. It just seems a little bit gratuitous in this particular context. So, but that said, out of the 2 chapters this week, and we aren't even going to get into the second one just yet, the fact that she did the card trick thing to expose the cheating is literally my favorite thing that happened in Ian Zero this week. So
it's a very bizarre moment, but maybe not the most bizarre thing we're going to see. So Nick, let's cut over to chapter 154 of Eden Zero, Skymech Ninjutsu, which I don't ever recall being a phrase, but apparently it is, because that's what Jin uses. Anyway, we open with...
I'm just amazed that that phrase popped up in this series before it could pop up in Boruto.
Yes, well, give it some time. You know, maybe Oshitsuification will lead to Skymech Ninjutsu.
We're gonna become experts at saying that stupid word by the end of that series.
Oshitsuification. So Rebecca and Chiki are flying through the air, and a bunch of ships attack them. Happy's on the ground. Rebecca picks up Happy, shoots a bunch of drones. Meet up with Pino. Yeah, they meet up with Pino, and Rebecca's there. And as somebody in the chat recently just brought up, I guess Rebecca's bomb collar just doesn't go off. Like, it just failed to go off or whatever. They basically, Shiki has a moment where he asks where Wise and Homura are. Wise basically is just like, where in the cosmos did everybody go? And Homura is humbly requesting that Creed does not follow her. And they're just like, but what do you mean? We're going in the same direction. Anyway, the rest of the chapter is spent in the fight with Lyra and Callum against Clean and Jin. And there's Clean just thinks like, oh, wow, the people, there's so many of them. And Jin's like, there's a lot of noise in here. I'll change it to the howl of the wind. And it's, you know, it's very edgy. Okay. Lyra reveals, I guess she didn't really have magic powers anymore. Like, her power was just changing cards because she just throws a bunch of cards at Clean, and Clean just blows them away. There's a lot of wind talk, a bunch of wind attacks. Callum gets an attack against him and then jumps to the air and says, Skymech Ninjutsu attack. And Jin's like, what the heck? Queen gets distracted as her brother gets attacked. Lyra uses that as an opportunity to throw flame cards. I guess her power is to put fire in car. I don't know. Her power sucks. But it still manages to hit Queen because she's distracted. And we get a flashback because Jin's like, how do you know Sky Tech Ninjutsu? And Callum's like, don't tell me you forgot.
This is the most fan fiction original character sequence that we have read in some time.
I loved it. I got so excited when I was like, how fucking convenient that the dude Jin faced up against, who to this point, like, I maybe someone correct me if I'm wrong, but did not give any indication that he gave a shit about Jin to this point, was like, no, I actually have a very involved backstory with you.
Because you see, back when Jin was a post chainsaw surgery cyborg, he went to a karate dojo to learn ninjutsu.
There was no teases to this. Just boom. They both went to the same robot ninja school. And of course,
well, when you put it that way, it sounds ridiculous.
You know, it worked for Power Rangers. I think it's gonna work here. So Ninja Dude was basically just like, I'll be your sparring partner. And the reason Jin can't recognize him is because he got a haircut. And he's like, I don't know you anymore, my ninja robot training friend. So they have some fights, but Callum is too strong. He uses all these kind of mist-emphasized attacks and says, we may have trained together as kids, but if we're meeting to get his enemies, then I will destroy you. And Jin tries to recover, but then he starts seeing his body is falling apart. And Callum just says, an imperial technique for altering my opponent's condition. Empire Ether. My carburetor will turn you to mist. And that's the way the chapter ends, so... You know.
Is Jin gonna die? Oh no.
He might. You never know. Fuck, man. It is so amusing to me that we got... What a great moment.
Oh my god. It's God. I'm glad we got both those chapters of Eden Zero, because they just show you, like, it's kind of one of those things that I think that if you listen to us talk about Eden Zero week to week, sometimes it doesn't sink in how batshit the series is in so many different ways.
Yes.
You just kind of assume like, oh, a bunch of pervy nonsense, or occasionally like, oh, a stupid Tory decision. No. It can be stupid bullshit in a different way every week, and that is why we continue to read it. So. All right, we're gonna talk about some newer series now. The Hunter's Guild, Red Hood, Chapter 5. So.
Nick, is it too late to pull the pin out of this series?
Well, hold on. I'm in two minds about this chapter personally.
All right, I want to hear it.
Because on the one hand, it's a stupid chapter number 5, Smoke Signal. But on the other hand, very into one of these characters now. So the witch that we were introduced to before, along with the very giant werewolf, are gazing down at the village. Grim immediately warns Velo that they need to take the villagers and run, and Velo's like, what are you talking about? Which, like, why doesn't he think that that's the first thing that they should do? That werewolf could step on all of them in 1 second. But said werewolf waves his hand and goes, villagers, fear not. I've come only to check on my sons. He's like, oh. And then he's like, I'm not hungry right now. Grim tries to attack, and as she's running up, he's just like, is that Grim of the 100 Cannons? So, sneak attack failed, I guess. And Grim's just like, I don't care why you're here. All werewolves must die. Very well-rounded character moment of hers. She waves this massive spiky chain at the werewolf, who punches the air, and the shockwave from the punch blasts apart all of the remaining standing buildings of the village. Um, it turns out that Grim has wrapped the chain around a bunch of rubble in order to make it into a ball and chain, which he smashes into the werewolf's head, I guess. And the werewolf just goes, "I felt that." And then he just kind of strikes with his hand and smacks her out of the air into the ground. So yeah, he's very strong, he's very sturdy, and he's very fast. Grim blocks the blow by kind of, I don't know, laying out a... She does a Chad from Bleach, catching an eye bar, okay? She just catches across the shoulders, and she's fine now. So she does that, and she's like, "Hello, I said to run," and I guess everyone's just been staring in shock while all this has been going on, so they finally start to run. While she still manages to hold herself up under the massive arm of this werewolf, but then she goes, "Oh, damn it, time's almost up," and her body starts to steam. And the witch goes, "Oh, is your magic spell about to wear off?" And Velo's like, "Magic spell?" To which I go, "I mean, yeah, you know that she was this small, and then she was this big, so, magic being... Yeah, anyway. So the werewolf, however, detects, "I don't smell my sons on you. So it must have been you, young peach-colored boy." And he just pokes his head way close to Velo and says, "I can smell them on you. The last wisps of my son's souls linger about you. Dodo's regrets in particular cling to your spirit. Proof of a warrior!" He doesn't seem all that upset about them being dead.
Especially when one betrayed the other and killed him.
Yeah, he doesn't know that, though.
Yeah, I guess. But he can smell everything. He's like, "I smell great honor on this one." Like, yeah.
Your social security number is 37924.
He's like, "Yeah, smell a lot of betrayal on this one." "No, lavender. Sorry, those two are very similar."
"That scent does not accentuate your best features." Fellow picks up a rake and is like, "If you're talking, you want revenge for your family, well, the same goes for me. I'll take you on." And the werewolf, still with his giant face right next to Velo's body, just laughs, really big belly laugh right in his face. And he's like, "Oh, facing me with a simple farmer's tool. I like you, boy." He congratulates him on killing a werewolf when he's so young and says, "Worry not. Out of respect for your bravery, I'll refrain from eating you. For now. Instead, let me wait until you are a warrior grown. I'll look forward to savoring the taste of your blood then." And he turns to leave. While Grim goes, "I'm back here. I'm not finished with you yet." But the werewolf is basically just cool with it. He's like, "Yeah, my sons are dead. Let's go home." Came here to find out what he wanted to.
Yep.
The witch is upset about this. She's like, "I haven't done anything yet." But the werewolf replies, "Then let me ask you to light a final bonfire. Cinderella, the Ashen Witch." Oh, it's another fairy tale reference. Who could have seen this coming? But he asks for her to create a signal pyre for my sons on their journey to Valhalla. They at least deserve that final gesture for falling in glorious battle. So Cinderella lets a little beam of light that turns into fireworks drop from her wand, and it starts setting the entire village on fire. Sparks dance from building to building, and the werewolf says something that looks like it might have vaguely been in Japanese originally, and it's gone untranslated because the symbols look weird. So maybe he's just saying "broady" and nothing.
I thought it was like kind of almost Nordic influenced.
It does look runic. Yes,
Yeah.
I agree. Some of the symbols look like Japanese, but yeah, some of it doesn't. So Velo tries to run to help put the fire out, but a villager's just like, "No, run. The entire place is on fire." So hurrying it to the lake. Grim, while her body continues to steam, just looks up at the witch and the werewolf and is like, "You two are direct retainers. Why'd you come way out here in person to check on a pair of minor flunkies? That axe, the boy, werewolves. Something is up with this, Hamlet. What are you two really after?" And Cinderella says, like, "Never mind that for now, okay?" because, she's a great character. But she says, just like a message to the guild. The red list is on the move again. That's right. We get our Akatsuki group 5 chapters into this series, and I'm sure we'll get to see all of them. So,
well, let's just say there's other series currently racing this series to the bottom, so it has to deal with those ones first.
So, and she kind of mocks Grimm by saying, hey, you can kill as many of us as you want, but the red list just keeps getting longer, and we want to live too. We aren't going to give up. Someday there'll be too many of us for you humans to handle. And they leave, going into the giant wave of smoke that has come up from this inferno that she has cast. Later, of course, after the village is burned to the ground, Villa is looking over all the destruction. Grimm is back in her childlike form, and she just says the mission was a failure. So according to our contract, I'll return all of your fee. But Vela just says, forget it. Kasoka Village is no more. There are a lot of people missing too. The person who'd manned the lookout is gone. I told myself I'd protect them. I swore I would protect them. And I feel like one of the villagers is like, hey, don't turn down that. We need that money to build new houses.
Well, I think what's funny too is she's like, I'll return the money. And it's like, to fucking who, bitch? If the dude you gave it to died 4 chapters ago. Like, everyone else is gone. What are you giving me the money for?
Yeah. She says that she'll call out for a new hunter and get some reinforcements. Once the search for the missing is done, she'll leave, but Velo just says, take me with you. I have to go. Take me to the Hunters Guild. And he's got heroic tears of anguish coming down his face. So
it's been a rough time for him.
Yeah. So, okay, whatever. This is all stuff that could have been done in like chapter 2, probably.
Mm-hmm.
That said, do love the giant werewolf. Think that he is very cool and expressive. So,
I think it's unique. It's amusing. Both this and Neru has also finally just gotten to the premise with its new chapter where you're like, oh, I don't know why you waited 4 chapters to introduce characters of personality and a plot and things like that. But that's what we're getting here. Normally I would say this is a weird move, but then I remember Demon Slayer is one of the most popular series in Jump history, and it waited until like chapter 9 to start a plot. So, maybe this is just a different kind of trend to a certain extent of what people are willing to do.
I mean, Demon Slayer established stakes in chapter 1, though.
Yeah, but Tanjiro doesn't actually get strong until like chapter 6. Like it's a long period where he's just a normal dude and then does training for a bit.
I agree. I mean, I'm just saying it's very different to go, there are demons in this world that I have to fight versus there are demons in this world that I have to fight because my sister is a demon and I need to save her from this one particular one who converted her. So
yeah, I just mean like in the same way this chapter took 5 chapters to be like, all right, the village is gone. Let's start the adventure. It felt like Demon Slayer took like a while to be like, all right, now he knows how to fight. He's got breathing style. We're going to do this essentially or whatever. I still just don't care about this series in most ways. Like, I'm just like, it's not particularly exciting. It's not particularly funny. I don't think there's a ton of personality in a lot of characters except for like the werewolf that we see every so often. Mm-hmm. So I'm still kind of waiting for something to click with the series, but maybe meeting more of the organization, finding out more. Like the world building is starting to get there for me, but there's still a series I'm just like, I don't know. I'll read it each week, but I don't really have a much excitement for it, so to speak.
Maybe Velo will go to this organization and they'll be like, well, you have to be a hunter in order to join us. And here are Grimm's 7 wacky siblings who each have a different gimmick that helps them to be a hunter. And you have to marry one of them. All right. Magu-chan. God
beep boop. I don't know why I said beep boop. There's no robots in the chapter, but I don't know.
Chapter 53, The Phantom of the Haunted Housing Complex. So Kyo is telling everyone a ghost story. She says, oh yeah, this happened recently to my friend. She went to this abandoned housing complex in the mountains, and as she was making her way down a dark hallway, she heard a child's voice coming from somewhere. When she looked, she saw a kid muttering to himself. Not enough, he said. Not enough blood! And I do love that as she's doing this, we get two very different reactions in the same panel. Ruru going, ah! And Magu just staring at her nonchalantly, just uncaring. Everyone else in the club is different degrees of kind of freaked out. Ren just seems to be amazed that Kyo is a very good storyteller, apparently, because she can make all the different creepy faces and stuff. But everyone else there besides Magu is just freaking out and holding on to each other, including Naputaku. Poor Naputaku, he's scared. It's past his bedtime.
He's terrified.
Yeah. But she's like, Kyo says like, hey, let's go on a test of courage. After she's also given the detail that on a closer look, the child had no legs. So they say that there's all this, and she's like, yeah, and it'll be part of our occult studies and stuff. This will be great. Let's go on a ghost challenge. And Ruru says like, no, I'm scared. And Ren says there's no such thing as ghosts. It'll be fine. But Magu says, ghost-like presences who inspire fear in lowly humans. It's a problem if some unknown beings are invading my domain. Very well. Show us the way tonight, Scholar of Darkness. So that settles that. Everyone's going, including the ones who absolutely did not want to go. And everyone's got their animal sidekicks with them as well. So they reach the haunted housing complex. It looks dilapidated. There are cracks on some of the walls and stuff like that. They immediately, Kyo and Magu rush ahead of everyone else. Ren then says like, wait a minute, this is my chance to show Ruru how brave I am. You guys stay here. I'll go and get the back. So, of course, immediately the party is split up in this very creepy place. Ruru and Yuika and Naputaku are wandering around, very freaked out, cautiously together. And they start to hear a child's voice saying, it's not enough blood. And Ruru's freaking out. Tears are coming to her eyes. She looks through a creepy door. And it's Muskar. And Muskar is like, my flesh and blood aren't enough. And he's got just this green juice mix that he's drinking in order to try and get nutrients so that he can recover his form. And of course, immediately Ruru stops freaking out because it's just Lord Mu. Nothing to be scared of here. She asks Muskar why he's hanging out in this abandoned place, and Muskar's like, I can be wherever I want. This is the secret headquarters of the Chaos Cult. We signed a contract and are paying rent and everything. So it's very official. They're the only tenants here, however, and yeah, so everything that Kyo told them about, yep, matches Muskar. He's the ghost. And Ruru's like, oh, it's okay. I solved the mystery, guys. She turns around to Yuika and Nabuta. They're gone. And they're both still freaking out. They're like, oh, I'm not staying here. I'm leaving. I'm going. Both of them try and put on a brave front to the other. Oh, I'm not scared. I'm not scared. Unisuke is still with them, and he's just like completely fainted from the stress of everything. We covered to where Magu and Kyo are. Ren has caught up to them, and Ren's trying to get them to go back, but Magu's like, we will not stop until the identity of the Phantom is revealed. They hear some noises coming from upstairs. It turns out that it is the false Magu that Uneris made that, of course, hangs out with Muskar's group. Kyo is the only one who spots it, so she separates from the group because she's like, oh my god, it's a doppelganger. I'm going to dissect it. She runs off with Gula to get a sample of the thing. We go over to Muskar, and he is very annoyed that he's the subject of a ghost story because he hates humans, and that's a human thing. So he uses his fate adjustment, and he's like, I'm going to find everyone so that you can gather everyone around and get them the hell out of here. However, he kind of senses them in a sort of sonar way. They're by their shapes rather than by all their other features. So he sees Kyo with Gula raised above her head, so she looks almost insect-like, and he freaks out when he sees this. Then we cover to where Magu is. He happens to spot the human follower of Muskar, who is doing a new dance of chaos in order to pray for the regeneration of Lord Muskar. Don't like this character, but I do love Magu's reaction because he opens the door, looks inside, and then just slams the door. It's like, and Ren's like, "Hey, don't do that! Don't enter rooms without permission." And Magu's just like, "It was empty. I'm not gonna do bullshit."
I'm tired of this.
And he decides that this entire thing was pointless. So he's like, I'm out. And he goes to jump through the window. And Ren's like, oh, slow down. He tries to catch him. Unfortunately, this means that Magu splats on the window of the floor below, which of course Neputsuku and Yuika see, and they see him as a creepy ghost, and they freak out about this, and then they go running, and they run into Ruru, and they're like, oh, it's a ghost, a ghost, a ghost, and then, of course, Muscar's still with Ruru, and they're like, it was a ghost, and Neputsuku looks at Muscar, and he's like, who is this? Because he doesn't remember Muscar no matter what. Magu comes across the juice that Muscar abandoned, and he starts drinking it. And he doesn't want to abandon it because he's a glutton, so Ren tries to pull him away. And, of course, he slips off the ground and rebounds into Ren's face. And, oh my gosh, Magu's stuck to Ren's face, and he's wandering down the stairs, and he looks all creepy. Ooh.
Ah!
And everyone freaks out, and they all run away. Oh, it's a ghost! Except for Kyo, who grabs Magu, and it turns out it's everything's fine now.
Everything's okay.
That's the end of the chapter. It was a shenanigans. So,
Nick, did you ever watch Arrested Development?
Yes.
Did you watch the Netflix seasons at all?
No.
Okay. So I only recently started getting into Arrested Development. And I've gotten through about the first season since it moved to Netflix. And there's a lot of discussions on it. It's, because pretty much everyone from the cast kind of got more prominent after the show was done.
Right.
And it was very difficult to get them all together. There's very few episodes where more than one or two, maybe three characters are actually in an episode together. It's just hard to actually get everyone's schedules to line up.
Sure.
But the season is this exceptionally well constructed storyline where there'll be stuff from like the first or second episode, jokes, throwaway mentions, things like that pay off like 7 or 8 episodes down the line. Like there's a lot of very intricate work. It is very, I absolutely appreciate the writing. Now it's not very funny. And that's what this chapter was. I appreciate the writing so much. It's not very funny, but I really do appreciate the amount of writing that had to go into this. It is very technical. I really enjoy that part.
Yeah. I mean, I was trying to keep up the enthusiasm all the way through it. This was not one of my favorite chapters of Magu-chan, but unfortunately it is a thing where I couldn't like skip past the parts that I didn't like because it all does flow into itself. Mm-hmm. And that is something that I agree with you. I appreciate. There were a few jokes here and there that I didn't really like. But honestly, the stuff that I liked the most was just the one-off stuff.
Yeah.
Where like Neputsuku sees Muscar and he's like, "Who is this?" Because that's just Neputsuku. Or Magu going off about like stupid human shit or slamming the door and stuff. That's great. But all the stuff of like, the thing. Oh, they were scared by the thing. Whatever.
Yeah. Whatever is pretty much the way to respond to it. Yeah, it's fine, but I appreciate the writing. Nick, let's talk about Mashle, Magic and Muscles, Chapter 72, Mash Burn Dead, and the Giant's Chain. So, last time we left our heroes, all of the monsters, the Demogorgons, I don't know what the fuck they're called. They still don't really give them a name, just monsters, I guess, have fused into one giant super beast, and it's covered in all these chains. And Wahlberg just says this operation could destroy the city in an instant. And Innocent Zero is just like, you sounded confident before. Stop it if you can, Mash Burn Dead. As someone without magic is even capable of such a feat. And Wahlberg's like, oh, he's putting Mash's strength to the test, but the difference in powers is just too vast. And suddenly, everyone from the school starts waking up. The mist that was knocking them unconscious is starting to lift, and they're all seeing this giant monster coming towards them. That's
and Innocent Zero has left.
Yes. So it's like all of them realize this monster is going to destroy the school, and it slaps at the ground and starts launching all of these rocks. Lance shows up and uses one of his magic spells to stop the rocks. Prior to that, he has an image of his little sister kind of calling out to him. So he just says, "You're always there when I need you, Anna." And I do like Dot just being like, what the fuck was that cutscene, dude? Whatever. And then just shoots a bunch of bombs.
I do like, because I was confused by that too. It's like, Anna's not there. What the fuck's going on? And Dot just calls it out. It's like, what are you talking about?
So Dot fires this big explosion spell, but it's blocked. There's a barrier that showed up out of nowhere and stops it. And Gehenna shows up, says that's a magic nullifying barrier. There should be another magic user controlling it. Until we stop them, magic is going to be ineffective against this guy. So we have to find this person and stop them. But whoever it is hiding, and there's no time. This guy is coming to destroy the school. So they're in a bad spot. Everyone starts screaming for someone to save them. They don't want to die. It's the end of their school. But then the monster stops. And everyone says, wait, what? Why did it stop? And we see that the big chain around its back has been pulled taut. And everyone's like, wait, something's holding it back. And they look, and it's Mash. He has planted his feet. He's grabbed onto the chain. And he is holding the monster still, single-handedly. The monster turns around and grabs the chain. And the two of them get to a tug-of-war contest.
It's a really cool 2-page spread, too.
Yes.
So.
Everyone's like, wait, should we leave it to Mash? I mean, he can't even use magic. He's like him, top of the school. Everyone starts basically having these discussions about him. Like, there's no room for this kind of guy and everything like that. And the monster roars. And the chain is even starting to fall apart from the amount of strength that's being used to kind of hold this beast back. And suddenly, one guy just goes, wait, does it matter? Does it matter if he can't use magic? He's trying to save us at our school. And they can see... I don't know if they can see it, but his hands are getting bloody from how tightly he's gripping this chain. And suddenly one person just says, you can do it. And we start seeing more people saying, you can do it, you can do it. And Finn watches on, saying, I wouldn't believed it. Mash has been nothing but a pariah at the school, always on the verge of being expelled. Mash, who can't use magic, in a world where magic is everything, he's changing the rules. And we cut to pretty much a full-page spread of the audience of students cheering for Mash to do his best, saying, you don't give up, you can do it, we believe in you, you got this, Mash Burn Dead. And Mash finishes it by winning the strength of contest and tossing the beast into the air, and it falls to the ground, seemingly defeated in a kind of big 2-page spread.
Yeah. Satisfying to see the student body just being like, why does it matter? He's saving our asses.
I guess we really shouldn't be choosing beggars at this point.
Yeah. It's a little bit weird because on one hand, it kind of feels like, is this happening a little bit early, people accepting MASH? But then you think like, it's been like a year and a half that the series has been running now. So yeah, maybe you like get more people on to accept MASH and be cool with him being at this, school, at least amongst the student body. She still, of course, has to deal with the higher ups, the elites in the society who are trying to get rid of him and sabotage his chances and everything like that. But yeah, especially if this is going to be like, it's considering the thing that got interrupted, this might be, MASH proving himself and getting that, I forget the exact name of the position that they were going for. So
it is interesting. I feel like somebody, I can't remember if it was a tweet or something like that. I think Kirby-mon posted something about it, that Mashle, I don't know if it was the creator, said that Mashle was about halfway over. Which at one hand I was like, that's crazy. And then I was like, not really. One, those, guesses are always off, but I always think to like Demon Slayer, and I was like, that was only 200 chapters. Like, I absolutely, like, it would blow my mind, but it wouldn't stun me if that's the case. So I definitely really enjoy this one. I think it's a great little scene of everybody cheering for him. And I think it was a ton of fun. I really thought it was a fun, nice chapter.
Yeah. It was just nice to have it was nice just to have a very straightforward and the good guy won and everyone was happy kind of thing. Especially because Mashle's been pretty, actually, just bizarrely dark the last couple of weeks.
It's been very serious, and it is nice to get that other stuff.
Yeah. Mash won a tug-of-war contest and beat up a giant. There you go. Let's move on to the Elusive Samurai, Chapter 26, Kokushi, 1334. So we are introduced to a new villainous character in this chapter. But we start off on a pretty positive note, as Tokiyuki and his retainers are kind of wandering around the fields, and they're like, oh, everyone seems happy with the harvest, and Shizuku brings up that this is because the second crop is not taxed. Fubuki's thinking about food because that's his thing. However, as everyone is looking around at this, and we get narration saying, the second harvest in April, the people of Shinano are all smiles. And then we cut to northern Shinano, where some people are beating up farmers and taking their crop. They're like, I'm taking some of this. And people, of course, object. The second crop isn't taxed. But the guy who's taking the crops just says, well, you dogs wagged your tails for the Hojo, so you scum don't have a right to a single worm. And then we cut over to... So I could say a creepy-looking guy, but this is a villain in the Elusive Samurai, so I think that usually goes without saying.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's redundant.
With painted-on facial hair. False eyebrows, false mustache, false goatee. And he doesn't say a haiku, but I'm not sure what this poem is. So anyway, but he's looking over everyone while he's being carried around by pallbearers, basically, throne bears. He is Kiyohara Shinano no Kami, the Kokushi of Shinano. I'm just going to call him the Kokushi because I'm not sure what anyone else refers to him as. So Sugawara is there, and he's like, hey, so there's an agreement that only the first crop gets taxed. But the Kokushi says, well, that was under the traitorous Kamakura shogunate, and the emperor himself has made me, Kokushi, so now I make the rules in Shinano. And yeah, he gets no objection from this. And then he says to Sadamune, I told you to have fuller eyebrows. As one who once lived in Kyo, you must not neglect elegance here in the sticks. And then he just takes out a brush and just goes over to Sadamune and just paint these stupid looking eyebrows on you too. There, that's better. That's better. This guy's weird. And he's very close. He's very close. His nose seems to be touching Sadamune's. It's too close. 6 feet minimum. So we are introduced to what a Kokushi in this time period is, which is essentially a prefectural governor. And essentially, even a Shugo, as in Sadamune, has to actually show deference to a Kokushi. This person yields more authority in this area by the official structure of the government. Meanwhile, the farmers are still arguing with the guy who was trying to take their crops. And so the Kokushi says, yeah, order your man to kill 2 or 3 of them as an example. So yeah, this guy is a real dickhead.
Yeah, he's not a nice dude.
It's not nice.
Which is weird for a character in the Elusive Samurai. Usually all these dudes are pretty up on the up and up.
So because of the Kokushi's actions here, the people are incredibly angry. Like their friends are being killed in front of their eyes. Their crops are being stolen. We cut over to Yorishige and Tokiyuki talking about this area. And Yorishige says, yeah, there's a man in the Suwa sect named Hoshina Yasaburo. Unable to endure the Kokushi's oppressive taxes, he has raised an army. Those living under the enemy must obey the enemy in order to cultivate followers. And given the difference in numbers, Hoshina's rebellion stands no chance of victory. And Suwa cannot send aid to them. Dispatching soldiers into the territory would lead to all-out war. So I want you and the elusive warriors to go instead. You must convince Hoshina's followers to stop fighting and help them to escape. So Kojiro is there with Tokiyuki, and he says, well, yeah, this is going to be like, we're going to be going a long ways away, and you were like worried before about, nearby reconnaissance. So why are you cool with us going there? And Tokiyuki starts to go like, oh yeah, he couldn't see the future. And Yorishige just clamps his hand over his mouth to shut him up and stop that. But Yorishige assures Kojiro, saying, I foresee that Tokiyuki-sama will return alive, but I cannot see how many members of the Suwa sect will die. Even in a distant locale, believers in Suwa Myojin are important allies, and Hoshina is dutiful and skilled, so I do not want him killed for no reason. And then we get the important bit that's going on right here, which is kind of just setting up the stakes, not just as they actually are in this present situation, but the stakes of Tokiyuki's development and growth as a warrior and general. And he says, you've been escaping on your own this entire time, but you can't be a general leading an army by just doing that. You must become an elusive general who helps as many fighters as possible get away. We cut ahead to Tokiyuki having set off on this mission, and it's just the boys amongst the elusive warriors who are on this mission. So Genba is there, Fubuki is there, Kojiro is there, but not Ayako and not Shizuku. And it's odd because Genba's like, why ain't the girls here? And Tokiyuki says, according to Yorishige Dono's foresight, the girls would be in danger. And Fubuki says, after all, there could be fighting. Which, Ayako's a fighter. That's what she does. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't quite understand that implication, especially when it cuts over to Kojiro. I thought his response would have been like, she's just as good as I am, or something like that. Yeah. But he doesn't say anything like that, so I don't really get what's going on with that. Maybe it'll clear up in time, but yeah, it is a very weird sentiment to like explain why only half the group goes, which I understand. It's a lot of characters. Maybe didn't have something for everybody to do, but why have the explanation be like, yeah, well, this might be tough. The girls would be a danger. You're like, one of the girls is a warrior. What the fuck are you talking about?
I don't get that, and it's not a satisfying explanation in the moment. There are a billion different ways you can explain this away. It could be Yorishige being like, I have foreseen that if they specifically went on this mission, then they might very well die. Whereas all of y'all, you're good. You're good.
Yeah.
Obviously, the real reason does seem to just be going to be easier to handle things if we just have a more limited number of characters as opposed to having to juggle a slightly bigger group. Presumably, Shizuku and Ayako will be, more important to the next mission, whatever. But it is a little bit weird. It's like, yeah, only the boys are going. Kojiro is left to kind of think about the situation that they're heading into, because he's like, if the young lord isn't going to die, that might be because I'm here and I stay close by and I protect him. But if I do that, then I won't be participating in the battle surrounding us. My behavior could result in more deaths. So he's a little bit paranoid about how he should act in this situation that they're going to be heading into. But Tokiyuki seems pretty confident in what they're working with. He says to Fubuki that they're going to rely on his tactics, and of course Genba's skills will help them in a mass escape. And he's like, make sure you tell Fubuki about your skills and abilities so that he knows what we're working with. And then he says, Kojiro, operate how you wish. I expect leadership from you as well. After all, you'd be bored just protecting me. And Kojiro's like, oh, Tokiyuki's growing up a little bit. He's acting more like a general. So he's reassured by this. They go to the base. They arrive presumably the next day. And Tokiyuki acts as if he is a messenger there, because now that's their cover. So he's taken in by a very smiley-faced guard to go and speak to Hoshina. And everyone's like, oh, great. Yeah, this will work out because Tokiyuki's got refined manners that put people at ease. He is perfectly suited for negotiation. This is great. And then they arrive in the strategy tent, and everyone's glowering and glaring and really pumped up and intense. And they're just like, did you bring reinforcements? We're going to go fight. And Tokiyuki tries to speak, but they immediately conclude, wait a minute, you didn't bring in reinforcements? Well, fine. Let's go. We're going to go charge into our deaths. And everyone's like, yeah! And Tokiyuki, of course, is shocked by this. But they're just like, this Asshole Kakushi is lining his pockets while everyone dies. He kills anyone who can't pay his taxes. Myojin is not sending reinforcements, but even if we stand no chance, we are going to risk our lives, and we are warriors. Land is a warrior's life. That's worth dying for, so let's go die to glorious death in battle. And Tokiyuki, is like, oh God, what am I going to do? How am I going to convince them to abandon this and get to safety? So very intense and very, very rapid escalation of the situation. And then we end on a joke because they're like, wait a minute, the guy outside was really cool. What's with that? And then the guy outside is just like, to the death! And you're like, oh, his face is just really friendly and nice.
Yeah, well, there you go. Get a good gag out of that. All right, let's talk about Black Clover Nick, page 301, Those Feelings. So, Asta showed up, used his sword to basically undo Lulu Pachika, turning into a super bomb. But they say, hey, she's still got active curses on her. Only one
very conveniently placed curse markings,
yes, too. Right over any precious bits. Leave Shriver? No, Sabretooth. That's his name. Sorry. Shows up, says, only one of the gates to the underworld is open. What is the Supreme Devil doing here? And he says, look, I'm going to be honest. Without Dunyu Neville, we've got no shot of winning this. Megicula is basically just like he managed to defeat like that inside the decaying world. I see. So he's the anti-magic user Vanica and the others mentioned. He's intriguing, but he could conceivably bring about the most unthinkable situation. So that's enough games. I'll kill Lola Pachika and Vanica and then manifest completely. So we start seeing some of the curse marks start activating, and then they start vanishing. And it's Charlotte. She's gotten up and is using her Briar magic to basically weaken the curses. And they're like, wait, how is she up? She should have been beyond recovery. And then Rill shows up and says, this is the type of spell I'm used to. So it took a while to activate. So,
okay, Rill.
Yeah. He activates.
Whatever you say, Rill.
Rill basically is like, hey, you guys showing up basically helped me because I was working on this big spell, but I would have died before I finished it. So thankfully you showed up. I don't exactly know. Basically, it's like a shield spell. He's like, as long as the spell is active, it boosts the magic of anyone around me and makes it so they won't die no matter what damage they take. And again, it's one of those things of like, your art magic's fucking busted. Like,
yeah, he basically just like, yeah, I'm going to use that one really conditional ult from League of Legends that prevents everyone in an area from dying, and that's all it does.
Yeah. So they're like, all right, Magically even has to kind of give it up to him. Like, all right, you're doing it all right. These humans are pretty sweet, I guess. You really are fascinating. But it doesn't really matter because I also have an army of monsters. Like, basically, Vanica has been amusing herself murdering people for a while, so I'm imbuing them with the power of devils, and now they're basically living corpses of blood and steel, and there are 100 of them. So, what are you possibly going to do? Undine shows up, basically saves everybody, or saves Asta, rather, and Lola Pachika, and Asta openly admits, at this point, I'm useless, so the rest is all yours. And Noelle shows up and is just like, no, it's okay. You've done enough. Just that the fact that you came simply thinking about you gives me strength. Oh, it really is true then. I've been explaining it away. But to think I'd realize at a time like this. I love Asta. But this is a battlefield. So for now, I'll focus on killing Megicula. And she activates Saint Stage once more. The final Saint Stage, she's calling it.
Yeah. Much happier with this sequence of events now that we've gotten this chapter, and it doesn't turn out that Asta just solves everything with his magic go bye-bye stick.
All the people who gave me shit before when I was like, I think, oh, well, still going to play a part in the finale of this. It's like, no, Asta show up. He's going to tap her on the chin. She's going to be dead. Like, I don't know. It felt like they were going to do something.
Yeah, I much prefer that, Asta is showing up and has given the crucial assist at a time that he was really needed, allow people to regain their bearings. And now, so it's going to essentially be the remains of this original group that are hopefully going to be the ones to take down Megicula. And hey, on top of that, character growth for Noelle, where she's just like,
Yeah.
wow, I guess I actually love this stupid idiot.
It only took 300 chapters for that.
You know what?
It's
As far as long-running shonen action series go, that's not too bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, it's weird because I'm reading Nisekoi and I was like, oh wow, within the first 50 chapters, we finally get the two leads. Like, we get at least one side of the leads admitting they have feelings for one another, and I was like, oh wow, that's crazy. And then I looked at this, it's like 300 chapters, but I was like, I guess battle manga do have a different standard for that. Like, fucking did. Orihime, I guess she always admitted she had feelings for Ichigo, but I was like, did she ever get that moment where she just straight up like, I love this fucking dude, or did they just get married at the end?
Yes, she had the moment where she had been given like 24 hours before she had to hand herself over to Grimjow and Ulquiorra and stuff, and she has the moment where Ichigo is asleep and she goes to visit him,
and she steals his stuff. She takes it.
Okay, so yeah, I'm just gonna take.
I'm in his room.
Hey, there's a card here for 6 weeks free on Netflix. I'm gonna take that.
I mean, all of his AOL discs. So it's all garbage for some reason.
Roughly appropriate for the time period of Bleach, actually. According to this, that happened in. Oh gosh, I can't remember exactly where it was. It was like chapter 200. It was roughly around chapter 240. And that was where she confessed to Ichigo while he was asleep that she loved him. So that puts that ahead of this by a good year plus of publication. So maybe as far as shonen series go, maybe not. Actually, so maybe it was kind of slow. And that was just her admitting it to herself. So
yeah,
who knows when she's going to tell stupid Asta that she likes him. So
stupid stuff. Yeah.
But I came away from this chapter overall liking it. Real fuck him, but
yeah, we agree.
Other than that, pretty good. Let's move on. Finish things up with One Piece chapter 1020, Robin versus Black Maria, which features a front panel that I really like of Denjiro munching on his own pompadour because he thinks it's giant shrimp, which I actually really think is funny. So we begin with the battle between Yamato and Kaido, and they're talking about how fucking pissed off that Kaido is that Yamato ate it because it was worth a lot to him, and it could have been used on, a soldier or somebody else like that. And we get specifically what the devil fruit was: a mythical type devil fruit model Okuchi no Makami, a rare mythical wolf. It's a dog fruit model, and so the Makami is this legendary Japanese entity that I did not know about prior to this thing. So.
We were all wrong, basically.
Most people, I think, were wrong. They were going for much more well-known Japanese folklore creatures. But apparently, this mythical wolf is a guardian spirit of Wano, which makes losing it to someone claiming to be Odin especially painful. And but he's like, but hey, you know what? You can protect Wano for me. And of course, Yamato's like, no. It's not what I want. And he declares, I will free them. I will liberate this country and its samurai and release them unto the world. And then he unleashes a freaking breath weapon, which is pretty badass.
Yeah.
But Kaido, of course, immediately counters it with his own, and they just counteract each other and swirl into each other. And Kaido declares that Yamato will never open up Wano's borders. You will never do it. And they're just left staring at each other and panting. We then cut to the banquet hall where Robin is staring down all of Black Maria's followers. Or is she? Because she's looking at Olivia, her mother, and Professor Clover, and it's Saul. They're all there, and they're happy to see her. And she starts to walk towards them, and she's opening her arms out. She's, I've missed you all. And they're saying, yeah, look at how big you've gotten, Robin. And of course, Brooke is there behind her, and he says, "Don't go, Robin!" And Robin says, "Yes, I know. It's such a shame." And she summons 3 giant hands with her Devil Fruit ability and just smacks all of them on the chin. They were all just members of Black Maria's crew, of course, that were disguised by the illusion mist that had been summoned. And Brooke's like, I mean, you could have told me it wasn't working on you, Robin. But she's fine. People start, taking the more direct approach there as Robin and Brooke try and run away. Black Maria tears after them along with her numbers followers. And Robin's like, you didn't have a problem with the illusion mist either. And Brooke just says, after 50 years of practice wishing every day that the death of your friends was only a dream, one does get used to being hurt by illusions.
Such a dark fucking
Jesus.
explanation, but it does make sense.
Yeah. And Robin's like, I guess we have a lot in common. It's like, Jesus. Some of the Straw Hats have really dark backstories. As they're being chased, Black Maria swings her weird club at them, and it turns out that the bearded flaming face in her club thing is a guy who has eaten the devil fruit, which allows him to turn the fire wheel on fire. And Black Mirror is like, that's fine. If you can't be tricked by illusions, how can you say that though when you're clearly dreaming? Dreaming about beating Master Kaido? Oh! Robin gets them above the huge wave of flames that she conjures up. And Robin's like, you're going to burn down the castle if you keep going like that. But Maria's like, well, then maybe you should just give up and let me catch you. Touche. Brooke says, Robin, would you mind dangling me under your arm like this for a bit longer? And for a second, I was like, is he going to do something really perverted? Like, does he have like a being carried fetish? No.
I legitimately thought that was supposed to be the thing because he is like kind of a pervy character. But then when he was like, oh, wait, no, I'm going to use my power, I was like, oh, Brooke really turned this around.
And so he's like, well, I mean, if that weapon's a living creature, then I could do this. And he goes into his spiritual form and just uses his cold soul ability to freeze all the flames surrounding the Wanyudo. And so, yeah, no more flame conjuring powers for Black Maria. So she just swings her giant club at them instead. That's way less dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
So, Brooke then uses more of his abilities to freeze the flames that have already been conjured and douse them all. And meanwhile, Black Maria is mocking them all, saying, oh, Blackleg, Sanji knew I was hunting for you, but he helped you lure you right into my trap. So the crew just thinks of you as baggage, the target of figures bigger and more powerful than you. And that's why he was so eager to guide you to me. And now everyone's laughing at him. Everyone's laughing at Sanji. Not right now, but sometimes people do laugh at him. Yeah. It just tells you a lot about the level of your little crew. But Brooke just laughs this off and says, oh, that's Sanji. I nearly split a seam laughing. And then he says, Robin, do you mind if I leave her to you? And Robin's like, yeah, thanks. And he will instead take care of, in his words, the ghoulies, whom he hates. So he's going to basically just cut off Maria's followers so that it's a one-on-one battle. And Maria's like, aw, did I hurt your feelings? But Robin says, no, he's a very kind man. You don't need to know what it means that Sanji relied upon me for help. He is truly worthy of being the wings of the King of Pirates. And she crosses her arms over her chest and summons a giant naked version of herself behind her. And that's where that scene ends.
Yep.
We can then go over to Luffy as the sub has beached and everyone's out on the shore now. Shinobu and Momo have reunited with him. And he's just like, I need more meat! And everyone's just saying, you've eaten all of our food. All of it. Momo is kneeling down over Luffy, who's still lying on the ground. And Luffy's like, oh, you fell down too, huh? And they're like, yeah, we escaped on Shinobu's kite. And Momo starts crying and saying, but Luffy, during the escape, I could only watch as Kinemon and Kiku. But Luffy just says, hold it in. hold it until later because you're still the leader here, so don't start crying before we're done. None of this is finished until I smash Kaido. I'm not losing the next round. Also, Caribou is there. Okay.
He's got to do something. They've introduced him in this arc, so I assume he's going to be involved in some fashion. But I can't imagine what it is unless he's just there to drop the fact that he knows information about Poseidon that the other characters don't. So
he does establish in this panel within his very brief appearance that he has a stake in Luffy's side winning this conflict because otherwise he can't leave. So there you go. But Luffy at that moment, after he gives this big speech about, needing to beat Kaido, he points up towards Onigashima and says, Momo, take me back up there. Turn into a dragon and fly me up. So we'll see if Momo can pull that off soon. We'll see where the next chapter takes us. That is something that I know that some people were predicting, but that would be Luffy's way of getting back up onto the island, especially because it's been established that Momonosuke fucking hates heights. So we'll see.
Yeah, we shall. I don't know. I wanted to like this chapter a lot more. I think part of me gets a little bothered that so much of this chapter where Robin gets a fight is spent talking about fucking Sanji. Mm-hmm. I don't know. That kind of annoyed me. I was like, I get it. Sanji's a cool character, but I don't know. It's weird that fucking a battle manga managed to fail the Bechdel test, essentially. It's you're just oh, they were just supposed to fight each other. They still only spent it talking about fucking Sanji.
That's a good point. Yeah.
But I am pretty excited for them to actually fight. Essentially, yes. Which presumably will be the next chapter. We just wrapped up 2 fights. I don't think they're going to draw this one out too long.
Yeah, I was getting worried about halfway through this chapter because of the way that the other fights that we've seen thus far have unfolded. Frankie and Sasaki, their fight, when we actually focused on it, was actually very short, etc. That, is this going to be another 1-chapter fight? And the Robin versus Maria fight is going to be spent focusing a lot on Brooke's contribution to the fight. I was like, oh no. But then we get just the scene cut. And it's like, okay, we're going to leave Robin and Maria there. Robin has just revealed the next stage of her Devil Fruit ability, which is, it's a little bit, weirdly fan servicey, but I do think it looks cool on its own as well. Just all the arms surrounding this huge version of herself behind her. Hopefully it doesn't have Komamura problems, the way that her powers always have had. So
maybe. I'm still honestly pretty excited. So, I think the fight should be good.
Hopefully. It's been a long time since Robin's had a big fight.
Skypea.
So. Yeah. Or that guy she beat at Fishman Island really
She
quickly.
didn't. She beat up slavers. She didn't even fight one of the big people.
Damn it. You're right. And she didn't even do a thing in Dressrosa because she just stepped aside so that
she watched and got hit with a bunch of maces. It was very impactful.
Yeah. So I guess I can see. Yeah. It's just the setup. So hopefully it's a good payoff for her. So.
All right, Nick, let's talk about favorites.
Favorite chapter of the week, MVP of the week. Okay. I think my favorite chapter was Black Clover.
When was the last time that happened for Nick?
It's been a while, I think.
Back in May, everyone gave Black Clover chapter of the week that week.
So, yeah, like I said, this chapter was good in it. Oh yeah, it was probably the.
It was when Magna beat up. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, that's good. Not quite as assured about it this time because this chapter did have fucking real. But there are a lot of different things to like about that chapter, and then honestly, overall, not very stiff competition this week, unfortunately. So,
and I'm going to be equally surprising as Nick here. My chapter of the week is Mashle, Magic and Muscles.
Not equally surprised at all.
Everyone's most the number one series I tend to give it a chapter of the week.
Surprised you would have been if you had given it to. Hang on. No, it would have been a bigger surprise if you had given it to Red Hood. So I don't think that there's any equivalent to this.
All right, so we did that. My character of the week, though, fan favorite. I'm giving it to Ida.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you.
And the audience does as well. The audience actually picked Ida as well, and my hero was their chapter of the week.
With a special mention for me to Chica, just for, I like rice.
I like rice too. Can't go wrong with it.
So yeah, Ida definitely was. I mean, like it. His involvement in the chapter is probably amongst the most eye-catching emotional stuff that has happened in My Hero in a while. It said I don't think I gave enough attention to when we were going through the chapter itself. But the one panel where he streaks by Deku and grabs onto his hand, really good.
Yes.
So. Okay, that all said, thank you everyone for joining us for Weekly Manga Recap. It was an odd set of chapters that we went through this week, but if you are ready for even more, we will be back next week with next week's chapters. Usual time here on twitch.tv/RoloT. Wednesday, roughly around 7:30 Eastern Time. You can also catch recordings. That's what they are.
I should also, before we actually get too far, and I want to give a special plug to something that I was on that I want people to go check out. I was on the Demon Slayer podcast. That episode has finally gone up. If you want to check out all my thoughts on Demon Slayer, I assume Weekly Manga Recap will eventually get to doing it as a recommendation. It's on there. But in the meantime, if you want to see all my thoughts, or hear all my thoughts rather, go check out the Demon Slayer podcast. It's the newest episode. We also take some time out to, of course, dunk on Bleach. So don't worry. That is in there.
Yeah, next week we should be back to talk about Alice in Borderland. So look forward to that, everybody. And you can check out recordings of our past episodes both on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Weekly Manga Recap. You can also listen to the audio versions on weeklymangarecap.podbean.com, as well as on Spotify. Essentially, anywhere podcasts can be listened to, you can find us there if you search for Weekly Manga Recap. We would like to give special thanks to everyone who supports us on Patreon, patreon.com/Weekly Manga Recap, where you can find bonus content available on there that we love giving to you guys monthly, including monthly other recap, which should be updated whenever Chris does it. I don't know.
By the time you're listening to this after the fact, it is either gone up or will be going up very soon. Probably, actually, this will be up right before it. I would expect the Friday of this week to be when it goes up.
Cool. I also want to give special thanks to everyone in our Discord community, including Ninja X3i. If you like the stuff that we do here, you should also talk about that with other people who listen to us, because there's a wonderful community on our Discord that talks about the recommendations that we are going through. Each chapter, as it is uploaded, essentially gets a recap discussion that goes on before we talk about it here on the podcast. Also, there are bi-weekly gaming sessions that are held amongst the community. It's all very good. And that is also where you can find links to the Google Doc maintained by Ninja X3i, which keeps track of all sorts of different things associated with the podcast, including recommendations, including the one that we are currently working on. We also want to give special thanks to Steve Man, our tarot card artist. You can check out his work wherever boobs are allowed to be drawn on the internet. Steve Man. And Milo Jack Stillitz and Winsdale Cheddar, of course, the creators of the opening sequence that you can see on the YouTube editions of each episode of the show.
Damn straight. All right, that is going to do it. Anything you want to throw out there, Nick?
Do
you want to talk about how heartbroken you were when Adam Page didn't win the Eliminator Battle Royale?
I was not super heartbroken, but I was a little sad. But
you were super pumped when he came out with the head.
Oh. you know what? Because of the bonds that he has with his friends, he had already won the most important battle. So
yes, the key frame just said the Dark Order, and say Adam Page in the Dark Order.
That's right.
Just the Dark Order. Then he left them this week, so you know.
I mean, as long as Cody gets his head kicked off this week, so.
That's all we need. All right, guys.
Please.
That's gonna do it for Weekly Manga Recap this week. I hope everybody has a great episode. Bye.